Welcome to Colesbourne Gardens. It's a very special place to be. It's really close to my heart. I come back here every year. It has such a magical view. As you can see, you have this gorgeous grounds covered with snowdrops. They are just like this first glimmer of hope, showing us that spring is now finally here. Later on, I'll be also interviewing the great son of the founder of the garden, Sir Henry Elwes, who will be showing us around. Also, the head gardener, Katie. So I look forward to talking to her as well, getting you some nice tips about how to grow snowdrops in your own garden as well. So I can't wait to show you around. Let's go. This garden really has some special place in my heart. It was the first garden I visited when I moved to this area.
Yes.
And I come back every year because the snowdrops that you have is pure magic. And this lake, I'm always, surprised by the color. It's just such a beautiful blue. Can you tell me about it? Why is that such a blue?
It attracts a lot of people. The water is as clear as gin, as clear as tap water. And somewhere up the valley, there's a patch of clay. And that particular clay is microscopic particles suspended in the water, reflecting blue light in a particular way.
So pretty.
And it's absolute magic, really.
Absolutely, because we don't have particularly blue skies today, but it is perfectly blue,
still blue today. It'll be even bluer when the sun comes out.
Yeah. And I love this bank of snowdrops just by the side of the lake.
These are the ordinary snowdrops, the nivelis. And they will seed themselves, and once you get them started, they'll expand all the time. Nearly all the other snowdrops are hybrids. There's only 20 species of snowdrops.
Oh.
And the wind and the bees are fertilizing them the whole time.
Wow.
And that's how you get a new one. And you walk through the snowdrops. We just walk up here now. You walk through there, suddenly you see something with different shaped leaf, different coloured green markings. Green markings on the inside or the outside, and then you start to get different snowdrops. And we've got about nearly 300 different ones here.
Nearly 300 different varieties.
And most of them all created by the wind and the bees.
And the bees, that's magical. And you're able to recognize all 300 of them. They're all different and unique in their own way, aren't they?
Well, my wife could identify every one from five paces. I have to look them up in a book sometimes.
I would like to really ask about the history of this garden, because it has such a rich history, and I would like to know a bit about your great-grandfather.
Well, he was a great naturalist and plantsman, and he spent his whole life round the world collecting plants, butterflies and trees. And he found the first big snowdrop ever found. All these ones that you see in churchyards and things, they probably came in after the Crimean War, because they all come from northeast Mediterranean area. And no big snowdrops had ever been found since then, until 1874, when he found this very big tall snowdrop in Smyrna, which was the Levant in those days, is Turkey now.
It is Izmir now, and I'm from Turkey.
And he brought it here. And it was named the giant snowdrop for a while.
Fantastic.
And eventually the RHS decided to call it Galanthus elwesii. So we are the granddaddies of the snowdrop world, really. Here.
That's amazing.
And we started the whole thing. And of course, he collected over the years quite a lot of different snowdrops. And there's different species hybridized, you see, and we got more and more snowdrops. after he brought that, he brought quite a lot of other plants as well. And in those days, it was a real challenge because he brought plants back in a tin of wet moss on a boat with salty atmosphere. And it was a real job to get plants back here. And he brought trees as well.
Oh, wow.
He had 30,000 butterflies, which are all in the Natural History Museum now. And you can go and pull the drawers out and see them. And he was just a real naturalist. And that was what he did. He wasn't a scientist, he was a naturalist. And as he got more and more snowdrops, we got more and more hybrids because the bees came in and fertilized them. And suddenly we see a different snowdrop in the garden. And most years we'll find 2 or 3 different snowdrops. And we'll put them aside for a year or two. They might revert back to one of their parents. They might actually turn out to be a new snowdrop.
That's fascinating, isn't
That's
it?
how we've
The nature.
got so many.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, he has such an extraordinary story as a plantsman and a naturalist, going overseas and getting those plants and caring for them, carrying across the, sea and through those ships. And it's such a fascination, really.
It's amazing. He
what a
went right
heritage.
to the top of the Himalayas.
Oh,
He
wow.
went to Chile, in South America,
Oh, wow.
bringing plants back on a boat. And they used to build little mini greenhouses on these boats to keep the salty air off the plants that they were bringing home. Nowadays, of course, you can't bring plants into this country. And you have to get a license to collect seed
Oh, wow.
and hope that the seed grows when you get back here. But in those days, they were bringing live plants back here and getting them to grow in England. And of course, they didn't know whether they'd grow on limestone. They didn't know if they'd grow in a frost hollow. And our books, we've got massive planting books here, dead. And these were ones he brought back. He didn't know whether they were going to survive in this sort of climate.
So your great-grandfather started this amazing heritage. I'm sure that looking after it over the years has been quite a, duty or a mission, isn't it?
It's a real honour, actually, because his son, my great-grandfather's son, my grandfather, didn't really take much interest in it. And I came in. My father was killed in the war. And so I took over when I was 21, and I've been here ever since.
How many years would that be? For about?
Well, it's over 60.
Over 60 years.
Yeah, about 65 years.
Fascinating.
And I know every inch of the ground, and I know every plant and tree growing here very well. And it's been a huge experience for me and an enjoyable one. And I loved it. And it very often happens you get alternate generations, you see. I'm really the alternate generation. And I look back at everything that he collected and brought here and treasure it. Very often fathers don't follow, or their sons don't follow illustrious fathers. They want to do something completely different. But being an alternate generation, I'm following a lot of what my great-grandfather did. This is one of ours, and you see it stands straight upright like that,
Yes.
with its head going a bit out like a daffodil. And we said it's standing to attention in front of the Queen, so we're going to call it Lord Lieutenant,
Such a good name.
which is the job I used to have.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, I see. So it's like a little soldier. That's
Yes.
such a good naming.
And the one lovely one just up there, we found in the garden, a hybrid created by the bees, the year that our youngest son died in an accident. And so it's called George.
Oh, that's
And
such
that's
a
a
nice
really nice one.
Out of all these different varieties, which one would be your favorite? Is it even possible to choose a favorite?
Not really. I suppose the two favourites of mine are Arnott, which smells of honey, and that's the bees come on that one at this time of year. You don't think you see bees at this time of year. You do. And that one's covered in bees on a sunny day. Won't be today. And that smells of honey. And that's a lovely snowdrop. Multiplies very well. Lots and lots of new bulbs all the time. And then the other one is a hand-created snowdrop. Not by us, but by somebody who specialised in that. And it's a really beautiful double one. And I'll show it to you in a minute.
That's amazing. You know, people don't really think snowdrops as a plant who would be scented. But
No.
that one you're mentioning, it actually does a honey-like scent.
Yes, you can on a
special.
sunny day you can smell it 20 yards away. And we wanted people to come in the garden and say wow. And so we planted all these by hand, every single one.
This is exactly how I felt. So when I first walked in and I walked through that gate,
Yeah.
and it just slaps you on your face as soon as you enter.
Yes.
It's such a sight to be seen.
Here's the original one that my great-grandfather collected.
So that's the one who came from Smyrna?
Yeah. And you'll see that one inside. It has two green marks.
Oh, yes. It's like a little heart shape.
Two green marks like that,
I see.
separated. And that is called Galanthus elwesii. Came from Smyrna. And that is the original Galanthus elwesii.
Which is named after your
Great-grandfather.
great-grandfather. That's fantastic. What a heritage.
And he brought that home on a boat in 1874.
1874. That's amazing.
And we've got his letter home. Said he'd been travelling in the mountains and he'd found the most wonderful snowdrop. And he found cyclamen and all sorts of other plants, crocuses as well. The whole list of plants he found on the same trip.
That's fantastic. Such a story.
And he brought them all the way back home. Yeah.
And today we are admiring these beautiful plants that traveled far from a country that I'm from.
Yes.
Just such a coincidence. I love this story. That's fantastic.
Here's my other favourite snowdrop here. And you won't believe it. I think this one hangs with its head down. When you look at it, have you ever seen anything as beautiful as that?
Beautiful.
And that's called Hippolyta. And that's named there's a whole group of snowdrops named after Shakespeare's ladies.
Oh no,
We've got Hippolyta, Ophelia, Nerissa, Cordelia, and they're all the same, all doubles, and created by one man. Well, it's amazing, the number of visitors who ring up and say, are they out yet?
Oh.
And I say we have such a variety that we get early ones, we get mid-season, and we get late ones. So come anytime on a nice day. And if you get a really sunny day, I mean, you can be in shirt sleeves at this time of year occasionally. Yes. And that's when the bees are doing all the work, of course, and doing the fertilizing.
Amazing. Fantastic. And this is the honey-scented bed.
This is the honey-scented one called Arnott.
Arnott.
And it was sent down from Scotland by a provost of Dumfriesshire to be identified.
Oh, wow.
And my great-grandfather said, this wants a proper name. It's a good snowdrop. And it's got an award of garden merit too.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure.
AGM.
Are there many scented snowdrops?
No.
Is that the only one?
There's some have very mild scent, but this is the really strong scented one.
So this is definitely the one that I should have.
Yes.
This is I have some snowdrops in my garden.
Yeah.
But I don't have a honey scented one. So
No, you ought to have that one.
definitely I have to have
And
that
you'll
one.
have next year you'll have 4 or 5, and the year after you'll have 10 or 12,
Oh,
and then you'll
fascinating.
have 20 and 30.
It's a long-term game, I think,
Yeah.
having snowdrops. But once
Yeah.
you have them and once they're established, it is a
Yes.
joy, isn't it? They just come back.
Joy. It is a joy.
That's the great
But
thing
they
about
do
gardening.
need managing. I
Yes.
mean, like all gardening needs
Yes.
managing, of course.
Absolutely. So when so is it based on the clump size? So when the clump comes to a certain size,
On the clump size.
Yeah.
And when we dig that up, when it's got its yellow stick in front of it, you won't see anything on the ground. It will have died back into the bulb.
they'll die back.
And that's when to dig it, because you don't really want to dig them when they're half grown
I see.
or half growing.
I see.
And,
So when they
it's
flop
better to
down,
let them die right back into the
Right
bulb.
back.
Then you've got a really good strong bulb,
okay.
and you can put it in a new piece of ground and it's going to be a good one for next year.
So then a good recommendation for the gardeners would be wait it to completely die down.
Yeah.
So I know that when the flowers go away, they kind of, the whole foliage just flops.
Yeah.
But wait for it to completely go completely down.
Yeah. That's what
and then mark it. Make sure that you know where it is.
Yeah.
And then lift it, split it. One goes back probably same
one
hole.
Goes back in a hole,
and then elsewhere.
Got you. But all the books say move them in the green.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to ask you, because this is what I used to do.
Because you know what you're moving in. But I mean, you don't move roses in the green when they're mid-growing, do you?
True. That's true. You did when they're in hibernation.
So they will grow if you move them in the green, but they won't grow so well.
Okay, that's a trick, and I think that's a good takeaway. Mark it so you know where it is.
Yeah.
Once it completely died down, lift it, split. One part goes back in the hole, and the other one put it wherever you want to carry it. Yeah. Excellent stuff. Oh, thanks so much, Sir Henry. It was such a pleasure talking to you. I feel very privileged to have access to such a beautiful garden and your company as well.
We've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It's our hobby, really.
Thank you.
It's not our business. We started as a hobby, and it's just a hobby that's grown into a sort of attraction, really.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Such a pleasure meeting you. You're a treasure. Your garden is a treasure, and I'll come back every year because this is a really special garden.
Yeah.
I have Katie Reynolds here with me, the head gardener of Colesbourne Gardens. Thank you so much for having us here today, Katie. Such a pleasure talking. I love the earrings.
Thank you very much.
It has to be pointed out, the Snowdrops earrings. Katie, I always get really excited when I meet a head gardener, but especially a woman head gardener. And for someone who's looking to become a gardener in future, what would you recommend? How did they start their journey?
Well, I started on almost an apprenticeship. I went in as an under gardener in another similar size private estate. They were absolutely lovely. They helped me with my training. Lots of volunteer work as well. That's always quite useful. We've got a local wildfowl trust here down at Slimbridge. So I did some volunteering there as well. It's just, I think it's showing enthusiasm and a real keen interest for it, really.
How many steps do you do in a day?
I think on my average is sort of 14 to 15,000. But obviously at this time of year when I'm giving private tours, we're up to 20 at least. So
it requires a mix of different skills. So it's not just about gardening, but also presenting it as well.
Yes, yeah, and it's a good gym workout. We do the heavy lifting as well as the as the cardio.
As young gardeners who might be maybe interested in becoming a gardener, what would you like to tell them? Why they should pursue this career?
Oh, it's outdoors. Yes, it's outdoors. I did start in an office. I tried the office life. I thought that was going to be where I'd make my millions, but actually, no. I much prefer outdoors. You're out in all the weather, and actually working in the rain, working in the snow, you soon get used to it. There's always something to do. And then it comes around to summer and you get to work in the sunshine. So yeah, it's nature. It's lovely. Keeps you fit, and you can eat as much cake as you like. It's always my bonus.
That's a great bonus.
Yeah.
It's, of course, known for its snowdrop collection. It is probably the greatest snowdrop garden in the UK. But we also have this amazing cyclamens behind us in this land. Just beautiful. I mean, I always love a cyclamen. They're just so dainty and so elegant. Do you do something special for them, or do they just like
these here? They do their own thing. Back in the day when we first started with them, we would sort of scoop off heads and seed heads and help them sort of cast over here. But now they are completely left to their own.
Interesting. So you do that once the flowers are like going off a bit, and then you cut them.
Yeah, you can just sort of grab a handful.
Grab a handful and spread them.
Yep, and they'll do their thing. It's the best way to make it look natural as well.
Ah, that's a very good tip, because I do have some cyclamens in my garden as well. They do their own thing. So cyclamens are very interesting. I mean, you can obviously tell more about that because you're a professional, but they have this corms.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
They're like a little pebble.
Yeah, it is almost like a pebble. Yeah, sort of a flat potato, I suppose.
Yeah. So basically, for any of our audience who may not know what it is, so basically their roots aren't a bulb, aren't just like a regular root. It is like a little pebble, almost like a stone, like
Yeah.
a really hard
Yeah,
potato,
really hard, yeah.
really hard. Because I was digging in my garden and these things came out. I was like, what is this? And then later I figured out they're actual cyclamens.
Yeah, if you're digging them in the summer, you'll be confused. Yeah.
Exactly, it's very confusing. And the flowers, when they come out, their seeds in the center, then they turn into this little springy
That's it.
thing.
Yeah, a little spring.
How does that work?
Just it is literally how they grow. They'll do flowers mainly first as well, and then they'll send out their leaves afterwards.
Yeah, and
Little
then
roots out the bottom. So if you do dig one up, you sort of have to try and work out which way to flip
Up.
it. So,
Oh,
up
yeah.
and down. But quite often they'll work it out themselves as well. So
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I was very fascinated to see that seed came up inside the flower, and then it was like spiraled with
Yeah.
its stem, and then almost as spiral was trying to pull it down.
yeah, or it will pop as well.
Or pop.
Yeah.
I didn't
Bit
know
of-
that. I didn't
bit of-
know that. Snowdrops, which is the main course in this beautiful garden. Do you have a special passion for snowdrop? How did you end up in here?
Honestly, before I started at Colesbourne, I knew a snowdrop like most people. It was white with a green mark. A bulb winter plant, but now it's one of those that's very addictive. You really get hooked, and there's just so many different varieties that you just sort of, once you start, you can't stop really.
It is like a masterclass in snowdrops. So we were just having a chat with Sir Henry a moment ago, and I was just saying that for a gardener, talk about learning about snowdrops. So this is the place to learn, right?
It is, yeah, and I'm hoping gradually we can. So this area that we're in here is the spring garden, which I hope to be able to compare snowdrops. So for normal Joe Blogs, for me when I started, I can see an elwesii, I can see a nivalis, I can see them next to each other, and then I can work out the differences. When you see them in a churchyard, you just see them en masse. You don't necessarily pay attention to all their sort of little bits of difference. Yeah.
We might have up to 300 varieties in here.
In here we
cultivars in
do,
here.
yes, pretty much.
How do you even recognize? How do you
Yeah, there
identify
we go.
them?
We start on species first, so quite often we will get sent a picture of a flower, or somebody will bring, through February I'll get brought a snowdrop flower, which actually is not much use to me. I need the leaves first.
Interesting.
So that's the key to it for snowdrop identification. They start with the leaf, and then we look at the flower differences.
And then look at the flower differences. I mean, this is probably a hard question, but do we have a favorite out of all
There's
this?
a few.
There are
I
a
mean,
few.
I love Daglingworth. It's got lovely little marks on it. I guess I have to say I love Caroline Elwes, which is the yellow, and it is pretty. It's a yellow elwesii, very special to here, obviously. I quite like Mrs. McNamara. That's another scented snowdrop.
We saw it on the way back.
Yeah, so it's scented. It's early as well, so it's usually out before Christmas. It's just a nice big sort of recognisable early snowdrop.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you have some snowdrops for us.
I do,
So let's have a look at these. I mean, talk about difference, right?
Yes,
so one of them
this
is
is
like,
just to highlight the difference in species.
yeah, they have a really different look. This is really dinky like me.
Yeah, nice little petite one. Yeah,
Yeah, and this is a really huge one. I mean, look at
Yes.
this.
yeah.
To be honest, I was just talking about this particular cultivar. The leaves looks like tulips almost.
They
It's
do.
so big.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, this is the lovely elwesii.
Elwes.
Yeah.
So this is the one came from Smyrna, which is a city in modern Turkey, Izmir, and I'm from Turkey.
Excellent. There we
So
go.
I was like, what a
So you must
coincidence.
be used to seeing them en masse
Yes,
naturally as well.
we have it en masse
Fantastic.
naturally in our mountains.
Yeah.
And the translation of it, the name of it in Turkish is also similar to, it has snow in it. So it's called kardelen. Kardelen means the one that pokes through the snow.
Oh, lovely.
So it is
That's
really
really
similar. So
nice,
this
yeah.
one drops like
Yeah,
snowdrop,
yeah, that's
and
it.
ours is
Yeah.
just pokes through the
Just
snow.
smokes up. Yep.
Yeah, and look at this, how petite and dainty this is. Like, so cute. Ooh. And
Yeah,
this
and
one is
then
like quite
big
big and
chunk.
bold.
Yeah.
So I think there is another side benefit of being a head gardener in a garden like this, where you might get a species maybe named after yourself?
One day, you never know.
So are you getting any close to that mission?
We're always on the mission. We're always on the, with this many varieties, you're always on the lookout for different marked snowdrops. I have one sort of tucked away secretly, but hopefully it stays stable one day.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
there may be the Katie snowdrop somewhere.
One tip to a home gardener,
Mhm.
someone who's growing snowdrops at their own garden, what would you recommend them? What they should really pay attention to?
I would say soil, definitely. They're not happy in clay. They can be grown in pots quite happily. Lots of people grow them in pots.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit easier to control them. And then, of course, the dividing at the right point in the year, or sort of once they've bulked up enough.
Can you show us what is a big clump so that people can recognize this? If
Maybe,
you have
but I
any.
may have
So, for
divided
example,
most
is this
of them.
big enough?
Well, I wouldn't know.
No,
I think
it's
it would
not
be
big enough.
bigger than that. Yeah. We don't because we've pretty much already done it through here.
You already done it through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there isn't
There's
one
no
to
real
show maybe.
mass. They do start just. You can just tell that they'll either start to stop flowering. They'll come up blind, which is known as blind.
Oh,
A
interesting.
lot of bulbs, just when they're starting to compete, or you'll start seeing the bulbs on the surface, and that's an ideal sort of time.
Well, the ones that I have at home are probably like about this much yet, so maybe they're not.
I'd leave them a little bit.
Yeah, a bit maybe more. I planted them about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they're just
Yeah, you're
this
looking
big.
at sort of at least 5 years before.
At least
they're-
5 years. That's
yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
Can we grow them at home?
Definitely, and there's plenty for sale. I mean, we sell them here. There's plenty in the garden centres. They can be a bit hit and miss sometimes, I think, on the naming of the variety in the garden centre. But anyway, you usually get the species right. It's great. And then once you start, you'll end up with a massive collection.
So there might be some audience who may not have really like a big garden, or maybe
Yeah.
they're not really into gardening yet, but they might have a flat
Yeah.
and they might want to have some plants. So do you recommend them to get some plants from the garden centre and put it on, and it might flower?
Yeah. Keep them in the pot as well, especially even in like you say, in a flat. If you've got a box window, brilliant. They'll put them outside, leave them there. As long as they don't get baked for the summer. If it's south facing, it'll be
I
too hot for the
see.
summer. Try and find somewhere a bit shady.
Okay.
But otherwise, and just make sure if they are in a pot that you give them a bit of a feed as well.
So are they inside the house or are they outside the window?
Outside preferably. Yeah.
Outside preferably.
Yeah,
Okay, good to
definitely.
know.
They'll last a lot longer.
I see. If they have a balcony, for example,
Yeah,
they can have it in the
spot on.
balcony.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. Good to know that. Apart from that, what is your favorite flower actually?
My favourite
the
flower
world?
in the
Yeah,
world.
in the world.
Oh gosh,
That's
I would
really
go
hard to ask.
No, roses.
Roses.
Roses all
Oh.
the time.
Congratulations, you gave the right answer. I agree with you.
It's always roses. Roses
So
are
good.
great, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
They
those
really
are
are.
queen of the.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Beautiful.
dahlias, yes, I understand.
Yeah,
Irises,
dahlias,
yes, yeah. But I mean, come on, roses.
It's gotta
I
be
mean,
roses.
Yeah, it's got to be right.
Yeah, and it has to be a scented rose as well.
Agree. That head gardener is saying. I'm not saying that. So. Thank you so much, Katie.
You're
It
very
was such a
welcome.
pleasure talking to you. I learned a lot today. I know that springy thing that cyclamens do to shoot. What an incredible thing. I didn't know about that. Now I know when I should divide mine.
Yep.
Now I know I can actually grow them in the house if I wanted to, just in the balcony or by the windowsill, but outside. And now I know that there can be some diseases.
Yes.
So I'll be watching out for that. And I got great inspiration from you about following gardening as a profession. Young people can actually do that.
Yep.
And this is a great job to do. You're in outdoors, active, and very fulfilling and rewarding, I would think.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, this is the best time of year for me. I get to chat to people like you and everybody that comes in. It's just it's fab.
Fascinating. Thank you so much for talking
You're
to
welcome.
us. Such a pleasure. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
What a beautiful day it has been for me here at Colesbourne Gardens. I learned a lot about this garden, about its rich history, heritage, and all the hard work goes behind this. I would like to thank Sir Henry and Katie Reynolds, the head gardener, who gave me a really lovely tour. I learned a lot of things about snowdrops today. I'm now more confident about growing them in my own garden. So this garden, Colesbourne, is located between Cirencester and Cheltenham in beautiful Cotswolds area. So whether you're traveling from far, visiting Cotswolds, or you might be in a nearby area, do visit it. Especially February is a great time to visit this garden. If you are far away and you can't really visit it, I recommend you to visit other gardens that might be close by, and they might have snowdrops. It is just perfect time to visit them in February. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I look forward to seeing you in another episode, hopefully visiting another garden, and join me for my next adventure. Thank you, and until then, bye-bye.